Welcome to class, everybody. I'm your teacher, Mr. Burrell, and we're going to go over social studies today, 9th grade social studies. So recapping last week, what did we learn about? Anybody? Yup, we learned about Central America, right? So we learned about the geography and some history of Central America. Does anybody know anything else about these countries? Okay, yup. Well, today we have a special surprise today. We're going to take a little break of our lesson, and we're going to dive deeper into one of these countries that actually I've been to in a specific city. So does anyone know anything about Guatemala? Okay, yep, it's right next to Mexico. Yep. So we're actually going to dive into a specific city. As the arrow points, Chichicastenango. It's the city we're going to look at today. It's the third largest city in Guatemala. It is a city I've been to 3 times. So we're going to spend today on it. And so we got some fun facts about Chichi. That's what they call it down there instead of Chichicastenango. So the population is around 71,000. And it's the third largest city in Guatemala. I said that. So 98% of the population is indigenous. Does anyone know what indigenous means? Okay, so it's native to the area, right? It's like the Native Americans, they were indigenous to North America, right? So 98% of the population is still indigenous that lives there, and they're fully Mayan. So we have Native Americans like the Chippewa and Huron Indians, like in Michigan. They're called the Mayans. That's where they're down there. The other 2% is what they call Ladino. That's like found mostly in the bigger city like Guatemala City. Ladino, that's where some Mayans have mixed with the Spanish that came over. That's another lesson we can talk about. And it hosts the largest outdoor market in Central America, and we'll get to that, kind of what that means. So we're going to talk about their culture a little bit. Does anyone know what culture means besides looking on the screen? Okay, yep. So culture can be food, music, language, the arts, or religion, and we're going to talk about just a couple of those today. So let's get right to it. So food. Yes, they have McDonald's and Burger King and Pizza Hut and everything down in Guatemala. But mainly in Chichi, their main food is tortillas. And it's not the tortillas that we think about like we get from our restaurant. They're about this big and they're pretty thick, and they're actually made from corn. That's their main food source down there, but that's about it. At one point, the Guatemalan children were the most malnourished kids in the world. Tortillas don't really have a whole lot of protein in them, so tortillas and salt is pretty much what they eat. If they're lucky, they can get rice and beans or even chicken. They sell all that in the market, and vegetables too, but their main diet is tortillas. Like I said, they used to be the malnourished kids in the world. The biggest crop I already mentioned was corn. They actually grow it on the side of mountains. It's very hilly in Chichi. It's up in the mountains, and they don't have any flat areas like we do in Michigan. So they grow all the corn inside the mountains, and they build all their houses inside the mountains as well. I have a little video to show you guys how they make tortillas. It's very interesting how they do this. So we'll get this thing rolling. So after they grind the corn down and mix it to that almost flour, corn flour, they kind of pat it together and they put it on a skillet, and that's how they make them. So it's pretty cool. I've seen it done before when I was down there. And they're very good tortillas too. They're very good. So we'll cut that a little short. And I added this in there because I thought it was funny as well. Their biggest drink the last 50 years since Pepsi came there 50 years ago, and that's pretty much all they drink is Pepsi products. When I was down there, they had a dental clinic down there, and they were telling us that their teeth were perfect until Pepsi came. So they drink a lot of Pepsi. Language. So Spanish dominates the language in Guatemala, but except for a couple areas. like the Mayan towns, like Chichi, which is we found out is 98% indigenous, right? So about 25% of the people only speak Quiche. That's their Mayan dialect. That's the language they spoke before the conquistadors came over to Guatemala and took over. And a lot of them still speak it. So 25% speak only Quiche. 70% speak both Spanish and Quiche. That's a pretty high number. So I would say 70% speak both, but 70% don't speak very good both. It's either usually pretty good Spanish and a little bit of Quiche, or they're around pretty good Quiche and a little bit of Spanish. And then only about 5% just speak Spanish, and those are more like the Ladinos we talked about earlier. So I'm going to teach you a couple of the words. So in English, we say thank you, right? Thank you is the English word. In Spanish, it's gracias. You guys may know that from your Spanish classes. And in Quiche, it's moltios. That's how you pronounce it. Does everyone say that with me? Moltios, right? So that's thank you in Quiche. Another one for you. Good evening in English is buenas noches in Spanish. And in Quiche, it's shukuka. Shukuka. So it's a little difficult, or it's actually very difficult to learn it. There is like an alphabet like we have, like our ABCs, but just some Americans that live down in Guatemala I've talked to, that it's very difficult. It's a lot of, we'll take a look at it in a sec. And we got one more. English is how are you, right? In Spanish it's como estás. In Quiche it's la utzawach. La utzawach is the Quiche word of that. So I actually have a little bit of another video to show you guys the Quiche speaker. It's pretty interesting. So here we go.
Meat stitch.
Oh, of course, got a commercial. Just gonna hold on for a second. Perfect.
Acha la utsiwach in utsnowach warar shakwanu panhom ingoku le washwan shukile wishokir utskanik warar kochakunik dioshcher kaha kochilachka ukotewechim iutskabanom chetakuer ihre kin inkikotik porque también kochakunik no es ir coge para atakshi kachak rech utskuban reka utskuban kabish utskuban katikon utskan kawach rech ko kekierik
I will stop there. So as you guys can see, it's definitely not like English. And as far as I know, it's pretty not like Spanish either. There is some Spanglish that people have added over the years where they can speak Quiche, but they throw a couple Spanish words in there. But it's a lot of coming through your throat and kind of a little bit of clicks in there. So it's very interesting. It's a lot different than what we have in the U.S. And religion. Religion's part of the culture as well. We're blessed to live in America where we can have worship any God, any religion, have the freedom to worship anybody. But one of the things Chichi's known for is their Great White Catholic Church, built by the conquistadors when they took over. It's called Santo Tomas. It's beautiful, but they built it right out of a Mayan temple, right? And in the church, they worship Catholic beliefs, but we'll see a picture, but you see they still have the steps of the Mayan. And so when you go and look at the picture, the next slide, the steps are still of the Mayan temple, and they represent some sort of their Mayan religion. So they do burnt offerings of like flowers and sometimes even animals on the steps, and they swing incense in there. So it's kind of almost a mix of religions. That's the next slide or next topic is religion's kind of messed up. The Catholics came over, the Spanish came over with their Catholic beliefs, and they almost let them worship their Mayan gods as long as the Catholic beliefs as well. So a lot of the Guatemalans down there, they may go to a Catholic church where they still do some Mayan offerings or some Mayan beliefs on the side as well. And there's a little bit of Protestant in there as well. So it's really mixed up in there. A big Mayan idol is the Pasco Abaja. Abaja, I think that's how to pronounce it. A rock Mayan people worship and have offerings to. Chichi is really known in Guatemala as a big Mayan area for religion. There's pillars, and we'll talk about another. Yep, a ceremonial site is located right by the cemetery, and they're pillars, and they used to do, or they still do, offerings there, sacrifices, and is even known to do human sacrifice in the last 10 years there as well. But that's kind of on the down low. But still, yeah, so they have the big rock they worship. There's also other sacred sites around the town of Chichi, and the temple is right there too, which now is Catholic Church. Chichi's kind of known for a big Mayan religion site. And here's some pictures. So I didn't take this one. That's the rock we talked about. I never went to see that, but right here is a cemetery, beautiful cemetery. They don't bury their dead. They build beautiful houses for them. And right down here, it's kind of hard to see. That's where the ceremony is, where they do sacrifices. And I also took this picture. This was actually just a couple weeks ago. And these were the steps I talked about, the Mayan steps, and that's Santo Tomas, the Catholic Church. Very beautiful. So we'll move on. The market life. So I mentioned earlier, the market is the biggest outdoor market in Central America. Many people make their livelihoods here. They sell anything from arts, crafts, to souvenirs, to vegetables, to even things for the people Guatemalan to buy, like shoes, video games, which is weird. Shirts, anything they have down there, pretty much. The market is really the bread and butter of Chichi. They survive on the market. It's every Sunday and Thursdays, or Thursdays and Sundays of the week, and it's a huge deal. I've been there several times, and there's kids running up to you trying to sell things to you, and it's a lot of pressure on families, because that's really how they make their money. And I actually brought a couple souvenirs with me. I brought back with me. They sell things from like I think they're rain drums. Beautiful pictures on them. You can see that. Notebooks, tons of notebooks. Little Guatemalan notebooks they make in the market. I have another one right here. This is a chicken they made. It's actually a hot pad holder. Stitching on that. Lots of book holders right there. Bookmarks. A little hummingbird they've made. Lots of blankets and tapestries. This is the table runner. Beautiful stitching. All this is handmade too. I have a laptop cover. I actually just bought this just a couple weeks ago when I was there. And then also a little drum I got from there as well. And you guys, I'll pass this around too as we go on. But yeah, I just thought it'd be cool. You guys can actually see kind of the stuff they have in the market, and they have so much more stuff in the market too. But those are just some examples of some of the handmade stuff they sell there. Oh, yeah, you got some pictures of the market. Let's see, the one on the left I did not take, but that's pretty much what the market looks like. Just tons of little tents and tarps with people hanging all their stuff up. And then on the right is me, just like I said, just a couple weeks ago I was there. That's me in the market buying stuff from people in Guatemala. So we'll do a little review before our quiz. Yes, we have a quiz. A little 8-point quiz, just over the stuff we've gone over, so make sure you guys are paying attention. The market in Chichi is the biggest outdoor market in Central America. I just said that. We'll go over just a couple little English translations. So English is thank you, right? Spanish is gracias. And Quiche is maltios. Look at the spelling of that, maltios, right? Next one is good evening. Translated to Spanish is buenos noches. And translated to Quiche is shukarka. The next one, English, how are you? Spanish, como estás? And Quiche is la utsawach. La utsawach is how are you? And we talked about the main diet for the people is tortillas, and if they're lucky, they can get rice or beans or even a chicken, but that's happens only when they usually on market days if they get something sold. And then there's a map of, pay attention to the map, that's where Chichicastenango is. northwest of Guatemala City, the capital, straight north of Lake Atlan, which is another beautiful spot. Don't have time to talk about that today. And now we have our quiz. So I'll hand out the quizzes for you guys, and I'll grade them out of 8 points. Hope you guys like to learn about Chi-Chi today, and we'll get back to the rest of Central America tomorrow. But have a good day.